everyone. Apologize this video is being uploaded late. Unfortunately, I was really tired yesterday and didn't have time to upload videos, but I'm going to be caught up for this Thanksgiving and be providing you the book review as well as the Thursday video, which will actually be rather different considering the fact that it is Thanksgiving and I definitely want to make this an overall positive week. So, without further ado, let me address what I want to talk about for this book review Wednesday, and that's none other than Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, I believe, who actually did also write Stuart Little, which is actually something that I didn't know initially until I saw the cover of this book. But basically, Charlotte's Web is probably one of the most famous children's stories, at least that I've come across over the years. It seems like a lot of people remember in particular Charlotte's Web and really know the whole kind of story behind it, but there might be those that may not be too familiar with it since it has been out for, I think, a significant amount of time. I believe it was actually written within the 70s, so yeah, it's been some time, I think, since this has been sort of a I guess topic of discussion when it comes to books, considering the fact that it is aged fairly significantly. But regardless, this story in particular, in case you are not familiar with, revolves around a pig named Wilbur who is adopted by this girl named Fern. And Fern's dad, initially within the beginning of the film, beginning of the story, wants to kill Wilbur. And she convinces her dad not to, and wants to keep Wilbur as a pet, so she sort of keeps him as that, and in doing so, he comes to know all of the other animals that surround him, in particular within a farm setting. And this includes Charlotte, who is none other than a spider, and you'll see how her web eventually comes into play within the plot, but basically, her and Wilbur sort of form this very strong friendship, and eventually, the dad of Fern wants to, again, try to eventually kill Wilbur, and Charlotte forms this very elaborate way of basically sort of convincing him otherwise. And again, this sort of really plays into the title of the web, because she uses the web to sort of convey to the people surrounding that whole area, and in particular the dad, not to kill the pig, Wilbur. And you sort of see how Wilbur eventually returns the favor to Charlotte. Now, this book is in particular, I think, designed to be fairly tragic and also triumphant, because you see certain parts within the story how, there is some struggle, and then eventually that struggle is overcome, but then there's also some other tragedy that ends up happening, so it kind of mixes in an interesting blend of happiness as well as sadness. And I think that's why, in particular, Charlotte's Web, I think, appealed to so many people. And the fact that, too, there is a huge appeal, in particular, when it comes to children when dealing with animals. So, and the whole relationship between a spider and a pig is probably one of the least common relationships that you will see out there. So again, another thing that also makes it rather interesting, to say the least. And overall, you do feel there is a certain likability to all of the characters overall, and that ultimately the purpose that they have sort of shines through. And despite whatever tragedies occur, there is a sense of life constantly continuing. And you'll, again, eventually see what I mean by that when you, and if you decide to read this particular book. But I really think that's ultimately all I can say about it without really giving too much away. Um, but it is also emphasized in particular as well within the story that Wilbur is supposed to not be this. He's supposed to be kind of a problem initially, and kind of um, a nuisance, and not somebody that's, I guess, so special. But you'll see how Charlotte uses that to her advantage by making it seem like he's the exact opposite, that he is something of a higher value as a pig. Um, but yeah, I think that's all I can really say. It's really fairly straightforward once you start reading it, because again, it is a children's book in that sense. And obviously, kind of having a pig communicating with a spider is also fairly, again, unusual, but at the same time, offers something I think fairly interesting and unique. However, I think that's really ultimately all I can say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.